Few days ago, Phil Spencer said that Xbox One is doing pretty well and that it's a best generation ever for Xbox brand. But is that really the case? Stay tuned for more. Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Mads and you're watching the Mads Gaming News channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, so check the links in the description of this video below. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell button to stay up to date with the latest news. So Phil Spencer is always active on Twitter, and that was the case a few days ago as well, when he replied to a couple of tweets regarding one of the journalists, I believe that was Jason something from Forbes or some other big magazine, that actually claimed that, or he tweeted out that Microsoft should really focus on the Windows 10 based Steam machines for the living room rather than consoles, and that the gap between PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is so huge that, Microsoft should just leave the console market, right? Now, here's the deal. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the statement, with this Forbes guy statement, because I don't think that, leaving all the market shares to Sony would be a good thing, really, because, competition is always good. And now imagine Microsoft dropping out of the console market. Sony would not have any competition at all. I mean, let's face it, Nintendo Switch is actually appealing to a different demographics. This is not a typical home console. So even though they will be competing for obviously our money, but this is not the same exact gaming console segment, if you know what I mean. I feel that this console is going to be competing more with 3DS and other handheld devices rather than a home console, right? And so, Sony would be left alone in the market. So, having a monopoly on the market is never a good thing. They wouldn't really have too much of incentive to actually make their products greater and stuff, to improve and stuff. I mean, I don't think that we should even discuss that. Competition is always good. So that's why even Sony and Sony fans and fanboys need Microsoft, because that will make Sony to improve even better. Now, let's go back to the Phil Spencer tweet, because he actually did say that the Xbox One is doing pretty well and it's actually the best generation ever for Xbox brand. Now, I would not necessarily agree with the statement, and even though I really do appreciate what Phil Spencer is doing with the brand and stuff, I do not entirely agree with all the decisions Microsoft did with Xbox, but that's just me, right? Probably they do have some sort of plan going forward. The problem with this statement is that, generally speaking, Xbox One is selling okay, that's fine. It's probably even selling a little bit better than Xbox 360 if you compare the same time of this life cycle, right? So after 3 years on the market, Xbox One probably sold more consoles than Xbox 360 after 3 years. But there's actually one big difference between those consoles. Xbox 360 did lead the market back then, Xbox One doesn't. And the actual Xbox 360, even though the actual lead over PlayStation 3 wasn't that huge, it was basically a couple of millions of units of difference. But the fact of the matter is that Xbox One is being outsold by PlayStation 4 like 2-1 or even a little bit higher. So the numbers do not lie, and if you compare it to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One sales is not really that great. So generally speaking, Microsoft did not improve over Xbox 360 that much, and you would expect that to happen, right? And I'm sure that Microsoft did expect that to happen as well, but obviously after 2013 release and all the DRM and other policies crap, they actually lost a lot of credibility, and they've been obviously trying to gain the gamers' trust for the last 3 years, and they did that to some degree. I mean, look at the Xbox One S. It's really the console that Microsoft should really start this generation. But, whatever happened. They cannot reverse the time. But the problem is that Xbox One is actually losing the steam right now. And even though Xbox One S is selling better than obviously Xbox One, original Xbox One, there's actually publicity is not really looking that great. And that's not even due to the fact that Microsoft is doing something bad. It's more to do with the fact that Sony is really pushing their new games, hardware and stuff, and they are pretty successful with it. Because whether all the Sony exclusives sell or not, I'm sure. I mean, there's plenty of games that do not sell on PlayStation 4 platform as well. I mean, if you look at the Gravity Rush, for example, it sold like 150,000 copies worldwide. I mean, that's not really great. I mean, let's face it, it is what it is. It may sell a little bit better with time, but that's not really going to hit big numbers. You've got that kind of failures, I would say, on the both platforms. But the fact of the matter is that even though not all games sell that well, Sony is still pushing more games for the fans, right? And this is a good approach. And this is the main issue that Xbox One has right now. That even though it has a strong third-party support, even though it does have a variety of different games, even exclusives, but they are lacking really big new IPs. Halo is a good franchise. Gears of War, Forza, all those franchises are bringing Microsoft's money, but they actually sort of pretty old and they need some new IPs, big IPs that will actually sell. And whenever they tried with a new IP, like, we've seen a couple of very good games so far on Xbox One. Look at Sunset Overdrive, Rise, Son of Rome, Recore, Quantum Break, and a couple of others. Those games did not sell really in huge numbers. I mean, Sunset Overdrive hit like 1 million copies, Rise, Son of Rome even more, a little bit. Recore didn't sell too well, at least at the beginning. I'm not entirely sure what sort of numbers this game hit right now. Quantum Break sold like 500,000 day one, and then probably sold a little bit more later on, especially with Steam released later on last year. So you've got all those games that Microsoft do not really continue publishing. So, but if you look at Sony, like with games like Killzone, like Uncharted, and a couple of others games, even though the first games did not sell in great numbers. I mean, let's face it, Uncharted 1 wasn't really a hit, but Sony still kept pushing those games and it paid off. Uncharted is one of the big franchises, right? We'll see how the Horizon Zero Dawn will do, but Killzone didn't sell too many copies either. I mean, let's face it. So but Sony do not stop here. They still keep pushing the new games and stuff, and Microsoft do needs that as well. That's the way it is. I mean, you can have a really great console and the most powerful one, but you need variety of games. And it's actually good to see that Phil Spencer is going to Japan to talk with Japanese developers and publishers, because the thing that is going right now is that even though Sony do not secure some games as exclusives, those games do not really make their way on Xbox One anyway. Like games like Neo, like Nier Automata, and probably a couple of other niche titles, they are releasing only on PlayStation 4 and maybe PC. And developers do not have any exclusivity deal with PlayStation. It's just the fact that they're not interested in releasing those games on Xbox. They may sell not, you never know. But if you don't take the risk, you will never find out, right? So we'll see how that goes. Another one is Sega with their Yakuza series. I don't think it's a proper exclusives, as in I don't think that they have any exclusivity deal with Sega, but Sega have never been interested in releasing this IP for Xbox or even PC. it just sits on PlayStation platform. So that kind of things really do make PlayStation 4 more attractive in terms of like variety of games and stuff. And I know that some people may not be interested in Japanese games and JRPGs or any other games, but you may not like it, but to other people may like it. It just you cannot really look at the Xbox or any other platform via your own kind of preferences, because different people have different preferences, right? The more games you have to choose from, the more attractive the gaming platform is for you, right? Or for any other people. So to just sum up, really, Phil Spencer really did overstate it, saying that it was overstatement that Xbox One is the best, obviously, generation ever. I would say that Xbox 360 was the high of the Xbox brand so far. You never know, that may change with Scorpio. So we'll see that how it goes. But I'm fully aware that Phil is aware that they need games, more variety games. Otherwise, he wouldn't go to Japan to speak with those developers. I mean, if Microsoft were just to focus on Western audience and the power and the hardware, they wouldn't really bother going and speaking with Japanese developers. But they do see what's going on. They do understand that they need different games, not only games from Western publishers, but also from Japanese publishers, especially that Japanese developers actually getting better and better recently, with more and more quality games. So, it's good to see that they are trying to change that, and whether it's going to work for Xbox or not, I don't know, but no, we shouldn't really blame Microsoft for trying, right? So I think that wraps up this video, really. So thank you very much for tuning in and obviously sharing all my videos with others. I really do appreciate that. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and if you did, you know the drill. Let me know what you think about it, comment in the comment section below, hit the like button, subscribe, and you take care. Bye.